Alright, what's going on, guys? Today I'm excited to share an install with you. Probably for the last year I've been looking for a way to get some of my bed space back with my fifth wheel. I currently have a B&W companion slider hitch which takes up the majority of my bed. So there's a new product, or a fairly new product, out from Gen Y called the Executive Torsion Flex hitch. I think I'm saying that right. Anyway, we'll see when we open the box, but I have one. Today we're going to get that installed and I'm going to show you what that looks like. So let's get started. All right, so I got to tell you, just right off the bat, I'm really impressed with the packaging. A lot of times when things are this large and they get shipped, they get damaged, but this looks like it was packaged extremely well. So let's go ahead and get this thing open. Alright, so there are my shim plates. Those are very heavy duty. And then this is the hitch itself. And so there's a Zerk fitting. This is the auto latch version, so it has a cord that you don't have to get up in the bed to secure it. It's an auto locking system there. So let's see. Yeah, that's heavy. Alright, there's some more stuff in here. So this is the torsion hitch, is what they're calling it. And so it's a pretty self-explanatory installation. Torque the bolts to 110 foot-pounds. This is the model that I got here, the 8055. It's got a towing weight of 30,000 pounds and a hitch pin weight from anywhere from 2,000 to 4,500. So I assume that when you see this bottom number here, you don't want to get a number on the bottom that's larger than the actual pin weight that you have, because the rubber that they use, I'm sure, is mated to these numbers. And so if you have a lighter camper than this and you get this hitch, then you're gonna maybe have some issues with a little bit of rough ride. So it's good to be within this range right here. It's a great looking hitch. So this is the torsion flex system here. And so my understanding is that there are pieces of rubber in here, and this flexes and twists and it provides some cushion. So as you can see, this comes with a lot of different mounting holes depending on your application. So it fits a lot of different units. Again, mine had the spacers, so I'm going to have to put those in between here. And basically, this is the pull to release it, and when it goes down on the ball, it's automatic latching. So you can kind of see how that works right there. I've got some grease on it. So it goes, and the ball goes on, it pushes this up, and then it latches and hooks the ball, and then to release it you pull that. So there's what the hitch looks like. It's a good looking hitch, and this has a 4,500 pound maximum rating. Alright, so I got the camper home and I'm going to show you real quick kind of some concerns that I have about this hitch and my new setup. So one thing I'm really concerned with is clearance, and so I'm going to measure to see how much clearance I currently have. So it looks about right at 8 inches. I'm on a little bit of a curve here, a little bit of an incline. Let's go to the other side. Yeah, so about 10 inches here. So I would imagine somewhere between 8.5 and 9 inches if I was on completely level ground. But one of the concerns I have is clearance, because now with the gooseneck hitch on there, my ball is the ball that came with the B&W companion hitch, and it sits pretty much flush. The good news is that there are other balls that have maybe a 2-inch rise, and then B&W also makes a gooseneck ball that goes back 4 inches, and then that sits about 2 inches higher also. So I have some other options. I didn't purchase any of that right now because I want to see kind of where it sits with the stock B&W ball. So this is what it looks like, and this has been a great setup. It's just again, trying to get some of this bed space back. So I'm going to get the camper unhooked, and then we're going to get this old hitch off, and then get the Gen Y hitch mounted up. All right, so something I'm going to have to relocate, actually two things. My breakaway cable here, that is attached to the part that I'm removing, and also so is my wiring for my trailer lights, brakes, things like that. So both of those things are going to have to be relocated. I was kind of hoping they would be on the main part of the camper, but they're not. So that's going to be something we have to relocate. All right, guys, so I got the tractor up here, and I know this looks pretty crazy. I couldn't actually get this flat or level because of the side of the camper here. So really all I'm trying to do is just keep this thing from hitting the ground. So we're going to get these bolts off here, and I'm just going to kind of lay it on there and then slide it down. So these are 1-inch bolts. This is a lot easier if you have an impact gun. All right, guys, well, it is several hours later, and I finally got the hitch on. I got to tell you, it was tough to get these shim plates in here on both sides and the hitch. As you can see, I scratched it up a little bit. These corners are extremely sharp, and having to work it in there, there may be a way to do it without scratching it, but there wasn't a way for me. So you can get some of that touch-up paint, I think, at Walmart that has that metallic look, and I'm just going to touch that up. This side didn't get any scratches or any damage on it, but this is what it looks like. I haven't tightened the bolts and everything up. It's just kind of sitting there right now, so I'm going to have to get some Loctite and get that. I had to use the tractor to kind of maneuver this in place once I got it up there. This definitely would help if you had 2 or 3 people to help you do this. But if you're doing it by yourself, tractor, any kind of equipment, forklift would have been best, but I don't have a forklift, so I got the next best thing, I guess, with a tractor. So we're going to get this Loctited and torqued to 110 foot-pounds, and then we're going to hook it up to the truck and see what we think. I'm also going to have to find a place to relocate my wiring here, and so I'm thinking I might try to use this extra hole here to put my breakaway cable here. It's just 1 bolt, and then I'm going to have to mount this probably up in here somewhere, so we'll see how that goes. All right, so I got the hitch mounted. I don't have the wiring mounted. I just have the hitch on here so I can see what it looks like. I feel like I am good on tailgate to camper clearance there. My concern is the amount of clearance here between the bed rails. So we're going to measure this and see what this is. So at its lowest point there, it's about 5 inches of clearance. Honestly, I don't think that's quite enough. I like to have a little bit more wiggle room than that. But as I said earlier, when I said this hitch mounts flush, it means the bottom of the ball pretty much is flush. Obviously the ball itself is not flush. They make several different types of hitches that give it a rise. B&W makes one that pushes it back 4 inches and then up maybe about 1.5 inches. So then that would give me about 6.5 inches of clearance, and then plus it would push it back 4 inches as well. One of the things I do like, honestly, with that setup is I think the camper is actually riding pretty level. So while it may be close to the bed rails, actually it may be nose down just a little bit, but not much. So I don't think 1.5 inches is going to make that much difference. If you remember when we measured it, we're about maybe half or a little bit less than half of the clearance. So it brings that nose down a little bit, which provides a more level ride. And honestly, I kind of like that part of it, but I need to get it off the bed rail some. I think 1.5 inches will do it. 4 inches going back a little bit would be okay as well. But I don't think that this puts my camper any closer to the cab than the B&W slider hitch did. And like I said, I never had any issues getting remotely close to touching the cab, even at a full lock. So I think the 4 inch back, 1.5 inch rise is probably going to be what I need to get. So on these bolts, just a reminder to anyone, I put thread locker on these and then torqued them to specs were 110. And when you torque these, torque the nut, not the bolt. So I know it's a little bit of a hassle to get up in here with a torque wrench, but you want to make sure you're torquing the nut and not the actual bolt. So all of these have been torqued down and everything is in place. So now I just have to get the electrical mounted up. All right, guys, so I've got it at a pretty good lock here. Just kind of as you would do normally backing up. I probably wouldn't cut much harder than that. And I still have quite a bit of room. And so this is the first time doing it, so I wanted to get out and check to see how much I had. I took it down the road just a little bit, and this didn't really seem like much of an issue. Went over some very uneven terrain, and nothing came close to touching. So I feel pretty good with a little bit more of a margin of safety having a hitch that's higher up. But for the most part, things look pretty good. I think getting that extra piece may help out, but I could definitely tow like this, at least where I'm at now, which means I know the terrain and I know kind of what I'm getting into. Sometimes you get into situations where you're not as familiar, or you have to make a turn somewhere, or get off the road into a parking lot or something that's uneven. So that's all there is to it, that latch. This is the auto latch model. So with the other model, you have to get up in the bed and put a pin behind it. So this is a lot more easy as far as the operation goes. But that's it. Really the only difference between this and the other hitch is you have to jack the front jacks up a little bit higher to get over the ball. And then of course, if I get a higher ball, then that'll be that much more. I have to jack it up to get it off the ball. So fifth wheel, you can kind of keep it down a little bit, but that's not a big deal. So, went for the test run. I want to retighten the bolts in here. Going to go ahead and mount the electrical box and the breakaway cable, and then get my safety chain system mounted, and then we should be ready to tow. All right, guys, we're actually back at the storage building for my camper right now, but I just wanted to show you how everything looked when I got it finished. I ended up mounting the breakaway switch right here and just used one of the existing holes there. Mounted the junction box for the trailer wiring right here. Did have to drill into the frame of this, but it's just a small hole, nothing big. And added the safety chains. One thing that is different about the Gen Y hitch is it already had these holes built in, so there's no drilling for the safety chains. So you just put the chain in here, and then it comes through on the other side as well. My chains are actually a little long. I'm going to get those set up a little bit better. The hooks here are obviously adjustable, so I'm just going to take some links out to get that to the perfect length for me. You can see right here why the spacer plates are necessary. There's one on this side, and then also one on this side. Very difficult to get those in there and get lined up when you're doing it by yourself. But overall, really pleased with how the hitch turned out. So if you're looking at a Gen Y hitch, I would recommend it. We're going to do some more towing with it. I'm actually getting it today, and we're going to go do a local camping trip. So I get to pull it maybe, I don't know, 15-20 miles today, and we'll see how the hitch does. All right, guys, so for those of you who were looking for a Gen Y hitch or just a gooseneck style hitch to replace your fifth wheel and maybe get some bed space back, I hope this video was helpful. I've got a couple of camping trips coming up over the next few weeks, and so after I get some miles on this hitch, I'll come back and do a review and let you know my thoughts on it. But initial impressions are pretty positive, and the number one thing that I was wanting, which is bed space, definitely have that. So really just waiting to see what the ride feels like and how it tows and performs, and so I'll get back with you on that very soon.